Pet Life Radio.
This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hello, feline friends. This is Michelle Fern, your host on Cattitude. You know, I've done over 100 shows on Cattitude, and I've had all kinds of interesting guests and interesting topics, crazy topics, just all kinds of things. But I've never had a show like this. My next guest is going to marry his cat. You heard right. Marry his cat. I mean, I didn't even know this was a thing. But we're going to talk to him as soon as we get back. We'll be right back.
DINOVITE.com.
When we put him on the Dinovite, he took right to it. All of these symptoms disappeared.
Dinovite is nutrition.
If you want the dog to be healthy, you got to feed it something healthy.
Something that he actually likes to eat. You need to put him on Dinovite.
Dinovite for life.
If you love your dog, you don't just want him healthy, you want him to be happy.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to welcome my guest, Scott Perry. He is on Cattitude with us today, and we're going to talk about his upcoming wedding to his cat. Welcome, Scott.
Hello there.
Okay, so this is actually, we're doing the interview the night before, and for everyone listening, you'll probably hear it after the wedding. So, Scott, let me ask you before we get into details, are you nervous?
Oh, I'm extremely nervous, of course, yes.
Night before jitters? Okay, so let's go back a little bit and just tell everyone about how this came to be. So people always, with relationship stories and, your relationship with your cat or there's all kinds of relationships, of course. But how did this relationship start with your cat who is named Olivia, right?
Yes.
Or fiance, I should say.
Exactly. Well, 5 years ago, my girlfriend at the time and I went to Best Friends Animal Shelter here in Los Angeles in search of a cat. And a medium-haired gray and white kitty named Colette jumped right into my girlfriend's lap, and we decided, okay, this is the one. So we bring Colette home, and we re-christian her Olivia because she's an elegant lady, and she immediately scurries under the furniture. And she remains that way for for a few months. But she'd come out, but she was very shy, and she would tap me on my elbow in the middle of the night to feed her. So I started calling her Tap Tap as well, because that was her modus operandi there. But, after about 6 months, my girlfriend left me and left the cat. And oddly enough, the cat started coming out more and more often. So I do wonder if it's still some master plan by Olivia here to just make it she and I.
Maybe, I mean, sometimes they say what's meant to be happens.
Cats can be quite sneaky. So Olivia and I have been together for about 5 years. I've dated other women since, but no long-term relationships. But in any case, as this quarantine came down and we went under lockdown, Olivia has been my sole source of any type of touch for the past 2 months.
Okay, let me just let everybody know. We're doing this interview near end of May 2020. And because some people, Scott, might be listening to this 3 years in the future. And sure. I guess anywhere in the world, they'll go, oh, I remember that, and go, what a weird time. So we've been in quarantine now. You're in Los Angeles. When did you guys start quarantine?
It was the middle of March here, 2020. And, in that time, we were under severe lockdown for those first few weeks. And since then, things have lightened up a little bit. I've become more comfortable hanging out with my friends with a little bit of distance in between us, outdoors and stuff. But even so, with like social human contact, we still don't hug like we used to. We don't like, kiss each other on the cheek or shake hands or anything. And that can be disconcerting to the human psyche. But, Olivia's always been here, and she's a loving kitty. She's a demanding kitty. It's like she'll wake me up at 5 a.m. to feed her. She'll want to go out and like hang out and get some sun on the porch at 9 o'clock in the morning. She'll, yell at me to feed her or take her out whenever, the cat wants. But she's always been a loving cat, and she's been just a wonderful companion this entire time. A little backstory: I grew up in Alabama, surrounded by kittens. I had a mama cat who wasn't spayed or neutered at the time. I forget the terms for which gender, but we always had a fresh batch of kittens every year in rural Alabama, and it was never a problem to take the kittens to school, and they'd find new homes by the end of the day. Now, fast forward a few years, things have changed since then, but I've always been surrounded by animals. My neighbors were a horse and a chicken. I had a ferret, an alligator, a tiny alligator, 3 or 4 dogs over the course of my childhood, and Sweetheart, who was always like, delivering fresh joy every year with a new batch of kittens. In my adult times, I was either moving around too much, or in the 20 years that I've been in Los Angeles, I was going to conferences too much to actually tend to an animal. I love dogs just as much as I love cats, but dogs do demand a lot more attention and are a lot more loving, in certain ways. And I live a block away from a dog park. So whenever a friend would drop their dog off for me to babysit while they were out, as soon as the dog realized that there was a dog park a block away, it was game over, because the dogs are always like, hey man, I want to go to the dog park. And I'd be too weak to say no. So I knew that in getting an animal, I needed something a little bit less aggressive and, just as loving, if not more loving. And a cat was the proper choice, because I grew up with all types of animals. But I love cats just as much as dogs. And Olivia's been a special kitty. Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. And so, so then you decided to take the plunge and to become a pet parent.
And now a pet spouse. And
now a pet spouse.
Yeah.
But for the pet parent, so how did you find like where to go? Because you went to a shelter. Did you research shelters? Did you have a certain kind of cat you were looking for?
No, we had no type of cat to look for. It's all based on personality. I'm not going to say I want a black cat or a calico or a tabby or anything like that. It was just, whatever was available and whatever personalities they are. I mean, we saw some, really cute kitties, but some of them were just a little bit too silly. And, anyway, so, I'm pretty familiar with the pet scene around here. I did volunteer for some time at the Amanda Foundation, which is in Beverly Hills. I go to the animal shelters here that are run by the city and the county on a fairly regular basis. But Best Friends Animal Society, NKLA, actually, just happened to have a wonderful batch of animals that day to choose from. And, they're a very well-run shelter. And so it was a no-brainer to go there. And that's where we made our decision.
The reason I ask is my dog was adopted from a shelter, but all of my cats, and I have 5, but 2 are outdoor because they're feral, but they've all adopted me. So I didn't have the choice. But I totally get what you're saying, because dogs are a lot more work for sure. And, I kind of even get the married part, because my significant other, I think one of my cats is like his mistress. So he even has her picture over his bed. So I don't know what that means, but, so I get it. All right. So Scott, why did you decide to take the plunge and get married? I know you've been in quarantine for a while. It makes you a little bit, jump in the walls kind of thing, but get married to Olivia? How did that happen? What made you decide to do this?
There were actually a lot of variables that came into the situation leading up to this. This time last year, there was a company called Party City that was closing some stores, and they actually happened to have a few wedding party type materials that were like on sale for dirt cheap. So I decided to buy them. So this has been in the back of my mind for some time, but it was just never the proper time to do it, or it just seemed too silly. Fast forward to January of 2020. And a buddy of mine named Devin Lemoreau came over and did some personality shots of me, and some of those included me in a tuxedo. So I asked him if I could bring out my cat for a couple pictures. He's like, yeah, man. And those turned out really well. Well, okay. So between the party materials and the formal pictures that I had in my back pocket, it's like, you know what? With everything going on with this quarantine, it'd be fun to do something silly and raise a couple dollars for my shelter along the way. So one night in early May, maybe late April, I decided to set up a wedding on Zola.com. So we were actually, quote, registered and made it kind of official. And then I just slowly started to roll it out amongst my friends, and word of mouth came from there.
We're going to take a short break, and we're going to be right back. Hey everyone, Michelle Fern here. You know, I have a whole zoo of fur babes, and I'm always looking out for the best way to feed them and make sure that their health and well-being is really at its best. You know, 80% of the immune system is influenced by the gut, and supporting the immune system through proper diet and digestive health really enables your fur babes to better fight environmental allergies. Well, Solid Gold is very passionate about gut health, because a healthy digestive system really impacts the immune system and the overall wellness of your fur babe. They were the first holistic pet food company in America since 1974. They've been going strong for 45 years, and they have a recipe for any dog or cat's dietary needs, including healthy whole grain, grain-free options, wet food, supplements like sea meal, and 100% human-grade bone broth for dogs. Solid Gold's nutritional platform is inspired by their founding belief that high-quality food is the best way to impact our fur babe's mind, body, and spirit. Solid Gold foods are also different because they cleanse the digestive system with whole superfoods. They balance with living probiotics and fuel with omega-3 and 6 fatty acids. All of this supporting gut health and nourishing your pet inside and out. Right now, to see the Solid Gold deal of the week, go to solidgoldpet.com/petlife. That's solidgoldpet.com/petlife. And you'll see the deal of the week. That's right. It's solidgoldpet.com/petlife. And you'll see the deal of the week and be on your way to getting your fur babe the nutrition he or she needs.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. We're talking to Scott Perry and his upcoming wedding to his cat, which is actually tomorrow. And probably by the time you hear this, he'll be already married. And he was just gonna tell me. So now it's time. This is the time to do it.
Oh, now more so than ever, because, okay, so with the quarantine, you know, the value of pets is really shown as a real healer for human beings. You know, whether it's like children who are learning about pets for the first time or adults that need a companion in isolation. You know, now's a great time to do this because animal shelters need just as much funds as anybody else out there. And they've done a wonderful job supporting and caring for the health of these animals until they're adopted. And then especially in this time of year, being the middle of May, it's kitten season. So there are a lot of shelters and fosters who have a lot more cats than they are able to find a proper home. So if I can help use this as a means to shine a light on the condition of the shelters and the fosters and, you know, find homes, happy, long-term committed homes for these animals and get some support dollars along the way for these shelters and fosters, then I've done my work.
Okay, before I ask you, I have some questions that are just buzzing. I'm actually so glad you're doing this, and also to find out that you're not really crazy, that I don't think you're not consummating the relationship, right? I mean,
Right.
Not that far, right?
No.
Okay, there's a great purpose for this, which I love. And yes, you're so right. There's kitten season. It varies a little, but it's around like April to October. And what so many people don't realize is that there's, like you were saying, you had kittens, and when you were growing up as a child, like there were kittens all the time and you just brought them to school. People don't realize that there are so many out there during this time. It's crazy. It's insane. So this is a great time. And even though quarantine is lifting up a little bit, it's changed. People have changed. You can't get the same hugs from people that you used to, just from, you know, if you have a significant other or someone in your household. Otherwise, no touch, right? So who do you have? Your fur babe, right? Exactly. So great timing on all this and on everything to get that cat or dog. But here we're Cattitude. So get that cat from a shelter. What do you hope comes out of your, I'd say, wedding / marriage, as far as for people to get?
One, I hope they find the joy and love that I've found with my forever friend. Two, I hope they support the shelters and fosters out there who are supporting these animals and keeping them healthy until they can find a home, whether it be through direct adoption or direct funds. And, three, I hope that even children learn to learn the love of an animal, and everybody realizes that owning an animal is a lifelong commitment. It's not just like, oh, I'm lonely, I'll get a cat or I'll get a dog, and that's it, and hold on to it for 6 weeks until it becomes inconvenient. It's like, no, this is a lifelong commitment. So in the long run, I do hope that at some point this becomes a national and international thing where people have commitment ceremonies with their animals. Hopefully for the children. No animal. I know we like to play dress up with our animals from time to time, especially kids, and do tea parties and all that. And I don't think any animals really love to be dressed up. They just tolerate it because we want to get a couple pictures for the Instagram and stuff. But one day, I'd really like to see young children have commitment ceremonies with their animals in their backyards. And I know that kids naturally love their pets. Just the love that comes between the pet and the children is a wonderful thing. I hope that parents encourage adopting an animal so that they learn responsibility and they learn about love. And, sadly enough, they'll learn about loss as, these animals, grow to be 15 or 20 years old. But this is the part of life, and it's good training to learn empathy and connection with another being.
Scott, those are some great ideas. I especially like when you mentioned a commitment ceremony, like you said, especially with children. And they always say at shelters, and I've had so many guests say this, remember, that cute little kitten will grow up to be a cat. And, cats have their personalities. And just like when they're cute little kittens are cats, and that doesn't mean goodbye cat. You make the commitment. It's the commitment for the life of your fur babe. And that's just how it is.
Exactly, 100%.
Okay, so tell us a little about the wedding. What's going to happen? I know you have a Zoom link and a website set up, and we'll have that on the we have a page on PetLifeRadio.com for this episode. So that's a page that stays up. So if some of you are hearing this sometime in the future and you're like, shoot, I wish I could see that wedding. Well, I believe you can because we'll have the link. And I think you're doing a video of it, Scott.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be the wedding itself is going to be broadcast live on Instagram at noon Pacific time on Saturday, May 23rd, 2020. Now, of course, most of you might not be hearing it until after this airs, most of them won't until after the wedding has happened. So what we're doing is we're making it very simple. All you have to do is go to Scott Perry on Instagram, and it'll be there. Scott Perry is my Instagram page. At this moment, I have a link to the wedding page, which I'm sure in time will come down. But for right now, we're going to broadcast live Saturday, May 23rd, 2020. And then we'll take the recording, we'll place it on there and place it wherever else we can, whether it be YouTube or Facebook or whatever social media properties allow us to do it. And the process is going to be very, very simple because, we're still in isolation here. And I don't want to overwhelm the cat with people. And I don't want to potentially receive or give the COVIDs to anybody. Because I haven't been tested and I've had zero contact with people, but there's a lot of asymptomatic stuff out there. So my health is just as much a concern as my guest's health. So in my apartment, I will have one friend come over to officiate, and everything else will be set up very simply for a no-touch environment. It's just simply a cell phone with a selfie stick, a ring light. I've got my earbuds. My buddy will have a lapel mic that plugs in. We'll have an 8-minute video with music underneath with images of myself and my cat playing behind me. We'll have some music on Apple Music with a special wedding playlist for songs that are perfect for the wedding. And we'll have a couple surprises here and there. But it's going to start with a 5-minute preface, just me talking about our history and what I see coming from this. And then we'll get into the ceremony, which will be short and sweet because as much as I love my cat and as much as everybody wants to see a full-blown ceremony, I don't want to freak the cat out. She's been very patient. She's been very patient with the photo shoot because I actually got a little $18 dress off of Amazon. I put it on her and it fit perfectly. And I did a photo shoot. So I had photos for the social media leading up to the event. But the photo shoot itself was like less than 10 minutes because she was being very patient. And she was being, loving and just patient with me. But, I don't want to drive the cat crazy. I get it.
10 minutes actually is pretty good. And being dressed up, I don't think I can get any of my cats. Maybe Dennis, maybe he would wear something. Oh, he did. I actually got a sweater on him once. But the other ones, forget it. Molly, forget it. I like my arms. I don't need them to have slashes. So, you can only go so far. But 10 minutes is pretty good.
I think the final two, she was just like lying down on the floor, just going, "All right, dude, we're done." It's like, I get it. I'm not gonna drive her crazy. It's just something fun and simple for everybody to have a little bit of fun. But yeah, if I spent my days, just dressing up my cat and playing tea parties, people would definitely commit me. But I'm a logical human adult. And this is something for fun with my friends, but it's grown into something much bigger, and I hope that people take it to heart.
And has a good purpose because you're promoting, adopt, don't shop, which is good, and hitting up your shelters and all of that. So the whole message is great. I have a great question for you. Since you found your perfect cat soulmate, what do you recommend for people that are listening that maybe haven't taken the plunge to getting a cat and have thought, you know what, I should do this? How do you suggest they find that perfect cat for themselves?
Take your time. Understand what your time commitments are and what your space commitments are. Because some people might have a great backyard and can allow for their cat to roam around. When I was growing up, my mama cat, she would leave the house and not come back for days, and we never missed her because we always knew that she'd come back, and she always did. Fast forward to now, there's no way I would let my cat be on the porch because I don't think she could fend for herself, and I'd be afraid other people would take her. So, I know my limits, and I know my cat's limits. So that's important. Understand how much time you have to commit to your animal, because, a dog will require a lot more presence and time than a cat will. Go for a test drive. Go to the animal shelter, and don't just take the first cat you find. Now, sometimes it's real kismet, and that can be a wonderful thing, but it's not always that way, because you want to know how that cat interacts with you, how the cat interacts with the family, how the cat interacts with other cats, how the cat interacts just in general. We got very lucky because at first I thought that our baby was, totally, a social cat and just jumped right in my girlfriend's lap. But, we brought her home, and man, she just stayed hidden away for the longest dang time, But she wasn't a total scaredy cat. She definitely was not feral or mean or hissing or anything, but she just wasn't as warm and friendly as we'd originally hoped or thought. So, definitely take your time in finding the right animal that fits your personality. On the dog side of things, you may think that you want a big dog, but when you realize like the amount it's going to cost to feed the dog, how much, space the dog takes, how much furniture it's going to be on, those are important considerations, But people tend to they'll watch something on TV and they'll think it's cute and they'll think it's funny and then they'll go with it. But then they realize, well, this isn't the right animal for me. So it's very important to spend the time to find an animal breed that matches what you want, but also find an animal within that breed that matches with you personally so that you guys connect.
That's great advice. Fabulous advice. Also for people listening, sometimes, and I just had gotten some emails or DMs from Instagram about this. Somebody was looking for a Maine Coon. And sometimes, we do get stuck on a certain breed or something because of how their personality is and so forth. There's also a lot of shelters that are breed specific. I know for dogs, I don't know how specific for cats, but there are, quite a few. So that's a possibility too. How do you find that in your area? Because you're across the country.
Oh gosh. You just hop online and find,
Find
there are multiple. Yeah, there are multiple shelters out there, and some of the shelters may be a holding place for multiple fosters. The thing about Best Friends Animal Society is to actually work with a lot of different fosters and bring in those animals. I'm not quite sure of their internal protocol and how they deal with that. But, you can, and the good thing is the way the internet works these days is there's plenty of material online to look at in advance. And just find the right place, find the right animal.
Well, Cattitude's a great resource too, because the first host, which is Tom Doc, did a lot of episodes on cat breeds. So if you're not sure, like my first cat was Dennis, and I didn't know he was part Maine Coon, and they're like dogs, and I grew up with dogs, so I thought all cats were like that. And then I got Molly and Charlotte, and no, cats are like cats. So, sometimes you get tricked a little bit, but this is such great advice. And I'm so excited for you, Scott, and so happy you're doing this. All right, Scott. Well, I wish you all the best on your wedding. Congratulations. Thank you for doing all of this because you're bringing a lot of attention to so many great shelters that are out there. And hey, any words of advice for our guests our listeners that are considering adopting or any, last words? I mean, I don't know if they'll marry their cat too, but this is more about commitment. So
yeah, the biggest thing is just, no matter where you are, support your local shelter and support your local fosters. These people are doing God's work, raising, healthy animals. And the best thing you can do is help them find happy homes for all their fur babies.
Well, I wish you the best. Congrats. Mazel tov. What else do we say? Cheers. Meow. Meow, meow. I don't know. I don't do meows very good. And the kitties are not in the studio right now because otherwise it'd be crazy. But I wish you all the best. Tell everybody your Instagram again, because then they could find the pictures and the video of the wedding and all that. So what is it again?
Sure. The Instagram is Scott Perry, ScottPerry. Very easy to spell, very easy to find.
Okay.
Just look on Instagram and you'll find the still pictures and the video and all kinds of fun stuff.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on Cattitude, and best of luck to you and Olivia.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.
Well, that was a really fun show, and I hope you enjoyed it. Not every day we talk to someone who's marrying their cat. It's great having Scott on. I'd like to thank my cat crew, which is Dennis and Molly and Charlotte and Sammy and Jethro. I strongly believe in adopting, and I didn't really have a chance with any of my cats because they all found me. But there's so many great cats in shelters. There's so many wonderful shelters out there. Please take a look, and especially now because it's kitten season, and there's just so many. And they make, great pets. They're great to have, especially during our quarantine, and maybe it'll be the new normal coming up in a few months. So think about adopting a cat. And thanks to my guest, Scott, for coming on the show. Thanks, of course, to my producer, Mark Winter, for making me and my guests sound fabulous. And, of course, thank you to everyone listening to Cattitude. I hope you enjoy the show, and keep listening. We have so many great shows and interesting shows coming up.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.